When he's gone, I stare blankly at the wall for some time, reflecting on his words. He is right. I cannot pretend he is not. It has been confirmed by the today's unpleasant debacle. He will never want to make love with me because it's me. He is in a worse denial than myself. I cannot go away, however, and neither I want to. I guess I could be strong and refuse him, but I don't want that either. For years I dreamed to have what I got. For years I fantasized about it. Yes, when I was making love with Ron too. It's despicable, I know. But then it really turned me on, and it was benefiting both in the end. I still remember the first time I've done it consciously. It happened during a summer holiday. We had decided to go all together, as Pyron was never really enthusiastic about it. Going with them, it meant an almost total muggle holiday. We had to endure long journeys by airplane, taxis, or buses. I was used to it, obviously, but not Ron, and he didn't like it much. We had to stay far from magical people and mix only with muggles. It was almost always in paradise-sea places with crystalline water and sun so white it was dazzling. I liked it. Their company was always pleasant and prevented us from arguing too much. Harry always greatly enjoyed those trips. To him, it was finally a chance to lower his guard and be left alone. Only there he could really relax. In one of those summer holidays, we rented two fancy huts just in front of the beach. One night, I couldn't sleep, and I was sitting in the porch looking at the gentle swing of the waves. The night lovely, warm, and starry. Lily and Hugo weren't born yet. Rose was about 4. I knew already then that I was in love with Harry. I've always known it. But at the time, I was still convinced it wasn't love, but a kind of crush, and I could get over it. As I said, I was enjoying the quietness and the loneliness when I suddenly heard some giggles coming from their hut. Some repressed soft laugh soon hushed. A second later, Ginny sprinted lightly outside, followed straight away by Harry, who grasped her by an arm and pulled her toward him. He began kissing her quite avidly, in a manner that would have annihilated in me every possible reasoning or will. But she pushed him away playfully and ran toward the sea. He smirked and tailed her. Ginny, freeing herself from her nightie, jumped into the water. Harry followed her example and pursued her. When he got hold of her, they played, laughing lightly, and then they made love there, in the water, under my eyes. My heart was pumping madly in my chest, and a deep longing for the same pervaded me. All that playfulness, joy, and companionship was barred to me. All that desire was barred to me. I could never have hoped for something like that with Ron. Already then, our relationship wasn't working, and weren't many the times where we would find ourselves laughing together, and surely never with a playfulness. We were still having sex quite regularly, but it was very different from what I witnessed that night between Harry and Ginny. It was less. I got back in the hut, all my senses painfully on. I woke Ron up and made my intention pretty clear. He was surprised, pleasantly so, glanced only briefly to Rose's bed to ascertain she was sleeping, and did what I wanted him to do. There, it had been the first time I, consciously, swapped him with Harry, and the intercourse that followed had been greatly satisfying for both. So satisfying that cuddles followed, some sweet words, and the next day he actually walked hand in hand and didn't argue the whole day. I can almost say that most of the affectionate moments with Ron have been because I swapped him with Harry. Pitiful. I know. That's why I'm willing to be only a substitute. It's still more than what I could have hoped for. But then, just because it happened last night, it doesn't mean it will happen again. If that's the case, I'll console myself thinking that at least I had it once. Harry will probably be sleeping until tonight. I'll go to the barrow and I'll do some grocery shopping. At the barrow, Molly welcomed me with a careworn face. Apparently, Sunrise had a scary tantrum today. She was crying, screaming, and nothing seemed to pacify her. Molly and Arthur were very worried, and they were about to call for Ted when she suddenly quietened and went to sleep. Exactly like his dad, the poor thing. I go and look at her. It's unbelievable how alike Harry she is. Same wild hair, same mouth, same stunning green eyes. Molly told me that I've been up and down with her mood. Sometimes she's just fine playing and enjoying herself, and out of nowhere she would start to sob without apparent reason. It happens randomly, but mostly mornings and evenings. Unfortunately, it seems the sobbing greatly outran the good moments lately, and Molly and Arthur are growing quite concerned. Well, she lost a mother anyway. I don't know how a child of barely 3 perceive it, but surely the change has been great. Apparently, it has been explained to her that Mum won't be back, but nobody is sure how much she understood. She asked for her. Very often, she asked for Harry. I must convince Harry to visit her. This abandon is not right. It's 10 o'clock. The room is dark. I cannot ascertain if he is sleeping or not. Surely he isn't moving. Where should I sleep? I'm undecided. Again, what is right and what it feels right is clashing. To take some time to ponder over it, I step in the room, led by the little light coming from the window, groping furniture to find my book with the intention to read a little bit in the kitchen. A swish makes me turn, and I see Harry's silhouette moving. He sits up, and rising a knee, he rests his forehead on it. Sensing in what mood he might be in, I pronounce his name to divert his attention. He startles at this unexpected sound and turns toward me. I'm barely able to discern his contour, surely not his expression. But as he gets out of bed, I perceive a sense of purposefulness as he ambles steadily toward me. For some reason, rising in me, some mild uneasiness. When he is so close, I can almost feel the heat coming from his body. Too close then, I gulp, about to ask how he feels. He doesn't allow me to. Closing his hand on my mouth, he thrusts me to the closet wall, and with the other hand expertly relieving me of my knickers, he gets off with me there, against the wall, like that, easy peasy, no questions asked. Well, what can I say? It has been quite coarse. There was a lot of aggressivity in this lovemaking. Yet, I greatly enjoyed, I must be honest. Together with yesterday, some of the best intercourses I ever had, actually. All this vigor really inflamed me, hence, far from me to complain. I reached more climaxes in those than in the last 6 months. We can also be honest here, a full year. When he had reached his, he stays there, pressed against me, panting heavily. When his breathing returns steady, he releases me, walking soon after out of the room without a word or a second glance, leaving me there, weak and shaken by the tumultuous encounter. I have not the time to get back my composure, but he is back, handling me a small towel. While I'm making use of it, I can only detect his contour sitting on the sofa. But I perceive quite clearly that he stooped on himself, with his head bowed. Perhaps that is right. I'm not helping him. After a few seconds, he runs his head in his hair and speaks. Do you fancy a bath? I'm a bit surprised by the question, so I blab stupidly. A bath? Yes, a hot bath. A rather fancy one. Okay, I understood correctly. He wants to take a bath with me, although formulated as if asking if I feel like some milk in my tea. I'm perplexed, but I play his game pretending that is a normal proposition the one is making me, like if instead of taking a coffee after work or going to exercise together, we would take a hot bath any other day. I try to impart a nonchalant tone in my answer, just like if what he's offering me it's quite a normal thing, nothing to get excited over. It come out a bit too shrilly, but he doesn't seem to notice, as he is out again. A second later, I hear the water running, and with a leap of joy, I realize that this is indeed going to happen. I follow, barely touching the ground with my feet. He hasn't switched on the single light, though, and I have to stagger my way up to the bathroom. Shall I pop the light on? I ask naively once there. No, let's keep it off. Which means he doesn't want to see me. I pretend not to understand and consequently not to feel hurt by this whim of him that proves Ted's point even more markedly. Once the bathtub is full, I have the great joy of witnessing him take off his clothes in a movement that brings me to pieces with desire and excitement. He slips inside and gestures me to do the same. There is some night light coming from outside. It's not as dark as in the living room. I can distinguish him quite clearly, and the lack in being able to experience this overwhelms me. This house is really beautiful. No wonder years ago, when the Fideliums broke, he strived so much to save it. The bathtub alone is worth every effort. It's spacious and luxurious, definitely big enough to be enjoyed comfortably by a couple. Full of sweet, scented bubbles. I immerse myself in the hot water and I snuggle against his chest. If there is a paradise, this must be it. We just lie there, enjoying the warmth of the water in a very cold night. The light outside, being the moon or simply a street light, reflects on the bubbles, making them glitter around us. It's magic. But then, out of the blue, to shatter it down, he asks me, how is it going with Ron? Just like that, as if we never made love together, as if we are not adulterously naked in a hot bath, as if we are friends catching up. It's already days I have been here, but we never really chatted, and now he is asking me of my relationship with my husband, notwithstanding that barely 20 minutes ago he was, quite roughly, getting off with me against the wall. If this is not denial, I don't know what it is. Anyway, I explain him how things are going, and I get carried away with my tale. I let out all what is ailing me, all the problems I face in my life with him, the desolation in being so far away from England, the feeling of being imprisoned in a situation I don't like. And he listens to me, quite attentively. He makes some remarks. He asks a few questions. He is sympathetic. This is another thing I really like about him. He listens. It is not so obvious and neither so common. When I'm speaking to Ron, I've always the impression he's only listening with half an ear. And he doesn't seem very interested in what I relate to him anyway. But Harry really listens, and he is concerned. That's nice. While I'm speaking, he passes a sponge on my arms and neck. Then he squeezes some water over my hair. My chattering has died out, and right now I'm only enjoying a nice sense of relaxation in letting myself be cuddled. My head rested comfortably on his chest. Your hair is even worse than mine, he says after some minutes of this paradisiac dream. I've already poured a pint over it and it's still basically dry. It repels water amazingly, he said teasingly, squeezing some water on it. I giggle. I slid under the surface and I resurface splattering water. Better? I ask. Kinda, he answered, chuckling. You're still completely dry though, it's unfair, I say, and I playfully push him under the water. He lets me do it and I emerge laughing, his hair sopping wet. Happy? He asks, shoving it back. Very. He cannot even imagine how much. I help him getting rid of all the foam on his face, and he does the same on me, grinning. All this cheerfulness delights me after so many gloomy moments, and I'm glad to see it in him. It does one good to see him laughing. But then, other sensation gets through. Quite suddenly, the awareness of our nakedness under the bubbles wakes my senses, and I lose myself in his eyes. So beautiful, so expressing, so mesmerizing, feeling the pleasant shiver and warmth I always found myself experiencing when I stare in those green eyes for too long. He's still smiling, and I cannot refrain the urge to try to kiss him. Although, with that smile that gets suddenly uneasy, he avoids my face. My expression is so hurt, he cannot help noticing it. He caresses me and kisses my brow, trying to compensate, which pains me even more. How is it possible that we are in a lover situation, but it must feel like a friendship to him? I love to laugh and be merry, but this barrier made of friendship really irks me. I want to take it down. I want to be his lover through and through. I force him to cheer him down if I must. I want him to be turned on in a situation of this kind, like I am, not only amused. I take his hand and I place it on my breast. His expression darkens, but it doesn't take it away. He slides it on my slippery torso, but this is not enough for me. I reach out in the water for him. I want to feel his desire growing. He doesn't stop me. He reclines his head and closes his eye under my explicit caresses. When I achieve my goal, I slip on the top of him and, well, I definitely forced him to bring it down. This is not what you would do with a friend. This is the most natural conclusion of the situation we are in. Why, then, there is not serenity? The sensations felt are odd. Why, then, whenever I rest my head on his chest and he caresses it absent-minded, do I feel this guilt? Why do I feel almost like crying? Why did I like it so much better when we were joking and laughing? That is right. I'm not helping him. I'm hurting us both. When we are in bed, in total silence, after the lovemaking we haven't spoken, when we are there, in the dark, he calls my name. Yes, Harry. He doesn't speak for a moment, and then says, I don't want any more children. I understand his meaning. We didn't use any protection, and probably only now he realized it. But in denial, he doesn't want to acknowledge what we are doing. Don't worry. I'm taking care of it. And I'm actually doing it. I don't want any other children either. It would be a calamity if we would get pregnant from one of these encounters. His features are so different from either mine or Ron's and so distinguishable in itself. If a child conceived now would just get his eyes or his hair, it would be a disaster. When you look at his children, you can clearly see they are his. Even Albus, who looks very much like Ginny and is the least who resembles him, at those eyes the marks him clearly as his son. No, no, no. I must be extremely careful. He doesn't say anything, but he's not tranquil. Distress is palpable. He doesn't embrace me like usual. He turns from me. Now, I really feel rejected. I wake up with a start. Harry is howling so loud, my heart beats passes from 60 to 2,000 per minute in a flash. All his muscles are contracted and he lets out barely human screams. What the heck is going on? I shout his name, but he doesn't hear me. His eyes are closed. I realize in a split second that it cannot be anything else but a nightmare. It told me about his nightmare before, but I never imagined they could be so violent. I yank him with all my strength, shouting his name, until, with a gasp, he widens his eyes and sat bolt upright, panting heavily, covered in sweat. Siri! He gushes in alarm. What? What about her? He turns to me, as though only at the moment realizing I'm there, and for a moment he seems not to recognize me. But then, he springs out of bed and darts out of the room. I hear his steps on the stairs. I'm still trying to pull myself together and bring back my heart to its normal behavior, when he's back frantic. She's not there! He yells. Her bed is empty! Harry, calm down! Her bed is empty because she's at the burrow! I say while getting out of bed. I see comprehension dawning on him, but it doesn't seem to calming down. He is heaving heavily and has got a terrified look. We need to check, he gushes. I grab hold of him before he can disappear in the kitchen. It's the middle of the night. You cannot call at the burrow at this hour. He shrugs me off. I need to check. I need to make sure she is fine. And he disappears. I follow, my mind reeling and my heart still pumping fast. The room is in full darkness, but for the ghastly projection of the green flames on the walls. Harry has already got his head inside. I kneel beside, and I stick mine in also. The kitchen at the burrow is as dark as ours. I'm not convinced this is a good idea. We will only scare them out of their wits calling at this hour. Harry must have already shouted for them because I see Arthur in his striped pajamas ambling over us with a candle in his hand. Harry, Hermione, what's going on? Is everything fine? He asks in alarm, crouching in front of the fire. His question is not over yet. The Harry stumbles up. How's sunrise? Actually, we were awake just because of her. She had a frightful nightmare and Molly's there trying to calm her down. She's fine then. Harry presses on. Yes, she's fine. But how are you? Why this call in the middle of the night? Something wrong? It's so long we don't hear from you, my boy. He say concerned. I know. I'm sorry, everything is fine. I just wanted to make sure she's okay. Do you want to pop here? She's going to be mighty pleased. She asks for you very often. No. I don't want her to see me. She's just going to get more upset. She'll be fine. Thank you, Arthur, for taking care of her. I know it's not easy, and I'm very grateful. Now I must go. I've already troubled you enough. Without Giving Arthur the time to answer, his head disappears. Me and Arthur stare at each other gloomily for a second. "How is he?" he asks in the end. "No, well, how is she?" "Up and down. The nightmare she had tonight really scared us. She was screaming and crying. She asked for Harry repeatedly. I think Molly is still trying to soothe her." While saying that, Molly, her red hair streaked with white tied in a ponytail, wearing a long night shirt, enters the kitchen with a teary sunrise in her arms. "What is it? Everything fine?" she asks in apprehension as soon as she spots me. Yes, everything fine," I reassure her, and using a sweeter tone I address Sunrise. "Hello, sweetheart. How are you?" She rubs her eyes, red by the crying. "I wanna see Daddy," she murmurs morose, puckering her dull lips. "I know, sweetie. He cannot come right now. He's good though. You'll see him soon, I hope." "He's not good. He's in an ugly place. He's scared. He's screaming." I feel goosebumps all over my arms. "No, sweetie, he's fine. I'm with him. He's fine. Now I'll go and check on him. You'll be a good girl, will you?" She nods, still with tearful eyes. I give a hasty parting to Molly and Arthur. I want to make sure he's really fine on the other side. When I take my head out of the fire, the flames turn back to their orangey shade, dancing lazily amidst the coals. I stand a moment there, kneeling in front of the fireplace, gathering my energies. I feel quivering all of a sudden in the middle of this forlorn night. Weariness is menacing to overcome me. I'm starting to feel this is more than I can handle, but I'm still of the same mind regarding some angles. If I can prevent it, I will. They would just make him swallow any kind of potions to calm his nerves, but the problem is the mind. I always felt the magical community is underdeveloped in the mind field. They tend to cure everything by potions or magic. They don't give much space to psychic treatment. Probably that's why there are so many dark wizards at large. You just need to see what kind of dismal place Azkaban is to understand their policy on wrongdoers. It's all about punishment. They just want them to disappear from the magical community and hopefully never go back. You finish there, notwithstanding the gravity of your felony, the same if you have killed or pickpocketed. That cannot be right. I wonder if that deranged Death Eater would have received a different attention in all those years in there, would have still nurtured year after year all the bitter rancor against Harry that brought him to do what he did. If he should have been in a better environment, his mind occupied with something else instead of boredom brought by an activity, have the chance to receive some active help like a counselor, maybe, and just maybe, all this could have been prevented. But I don't pride myself to have all the answers. Perhaps he was bad at heart, if it's possible to be bad at heart. Most probably, he was just very much troubled. Like Harry. I gather all my strength, and I go back to the living room, sure to find him there. The room is pitch black, but I perceive him sitting on the edge of the bed, immobile. "What's going on?" I ask resolutely. He startles at my words that ring into the silence, and I see his head turning toward me. But he doesn't utter a sound. To give him time to make order in his mind, I decide to prepare a tea. I ask him if he wants one, and I perceive a nod. When I got back with the fuming cups, he was still sitting where I left him. "So, what's going on?" I repeat steadfast, giving him a cup. "I got a nightmare." "Yes, I spotted!" I answered somehow impatiently. What about? One of my nightmares of the graveyard. He recounted me of those nightmares several times. They are frightening. That experience in his fourth year traumatized him for life. Not surprisingly, it wasn't exactly all unicorns and rainbows. I replayed in my mind Sunrise words. He was in an ugly place. He was scared. He was screaming. And I feel a quiver. I take a sip of my hot tea to cast it away and give me the strength to keep on the conversation. There was sunrise involved, I guess. Yes, he admits hastily, but I don't want to talk about it. Sunrise was having a nightmare too. A scary one, apparently. The cup is still in his hand, but he doesn't take it to his mouth. Outside, a car speeds in front of the window with a loud hum. The headlights brighten for a moment the room, enough for me to glimpse Harry's troubled expression. When you went away, Molly took her down. I let the sentence suspend at the moment, waiting for a reaction. When it doesn't arrive, I go on. From something she said, it seems she was aware of the nightmare you were having. Harry neither disclaimed nor confirmed it. There is something dodgy going on. There is something you are not telling me. He finally drinks his tea and after a moment speaks. Yes, there is something I'm not telling you. And before I can ask for elucidation, he turns his head toward me. And I'm not planning to either. He continues stern. I'm about to press for more openness, but he knows me too well and doesn't allow me to. Hermione, you are my best friend, and I've always told you pretty much everything. But this, I'm not going to. So, save your breath. I feel a bit hurt, but I decide not to pursue the matter. For the time being, at least. Tonight, I took a resolution. I'll be a friend. I'll be positive. I'll be a friend. I'll be cheerful. I'll be a friend. I'll be affectionate. And I'll be a friend. I'll be a friend. I've always done it up to 10 days ago. I don't see why I cannot do it again. And overall, I won't let gloom settle. Today, we are going out. I think he passed the rest of the night awake. I could feel him moving continuously. When dawn approached, however, he snuggled up and nodded off. Now he's sleeping very close to me. I start to caress him. He moves slightly, so I stoop on him and I kiss his forehead, whispering his name. A smile appears on his lips as he opens his eyes. All this intensity and greenness dazzle me as usual. I can also glance a glimpse of disappointment and a smile faltering seeing me. But I was expecting it, so it doesn't pain me. Not too much, at least. Although, after the faltering moment, the smile returns steady, a cheeky smile that makes me crazy. Stop, Hermione, we agreed on friendliness, a cheeky smile, period. He grasps me swiftly and grinning, squeezing me, and pecks me. I'm so glad you are here, he says, burying his head in the slope of my neck between my hair. I'm glad to be here too, I answer in a flutter. Friendliness, friendliness, I answer, period. I thought we could do something today, I say, emboldened by his good mood. He rises on his elbow. What do you want to do? He asks, smiling, with all his skirts as crazy as they can possibly get. How cute is he? I can acknowledge he's cute even as a friend, right? We could go somewhere on the seaside. What do you think? I see him waver, undecided. I'll modify your face, I say encouragingly. All right, but make sure I'm really unrecognizable. After 1 hour of complicated spell, we are ready to go, and not even Molly would recognize him. I've got a real knack for these kind of things. I choose a place in Wales where I've been a couple of times with Ron and the kids. The beach is sandy, and it stretches for a quite long trade, making a very nice stroll. Being weekday and low season, not many people are around, which makes it even nicer. And I know also more enjoyable for Harry, who always feels more at ease when it is so, being less chances of being recognized and bothered. We stopped to get breakfast in a cafe on the beach, and I'm glad to see his good mood carry on. Surprisingly, he starts to chat. He talks about the ministry, on some actions decided upon, and about some issues arising. I cannot fail to notice that's all refer to the time before the accident. I don't think he has worked since then. Are you going to return working? I have my personal opinion about his career. It's great and everything, but I don't think that ever helped his peace of mind much. It's just stressful and too gruesome. Being an hour means to have to assist every day to murders, crimes, dealing with deranged individuals, notwithstanding the high danger it comports. I never advised him against it when he decided to pursue it. I knew how he cared for it, and he needed a new object to focus his mind on after Voldemort to prevent his mind to slide in depression. Thereby, I helped him at best of my abilities to get it. But knowing his past and his struggles, I've always saw that a more cheerful job, like in the Quidditch field, for example, where you have the adrenaline, but not the danger, would have suited him better. I also had the suspicion that he undertook it to redeem himself from the guilt he feels in regards of all the people who died to allow him to defeat Voldemort. Kind of paying up a debt, preventing any such a death to happen again. A dangerous thing, of course, because obviously it's a debt that he will never feel fulfilled. He cannot prevent every death nor catch every single dark wizard on Earth, and he will only end up feeling even more guilt. He looks at me inquiringly. What do you mean? I'm taken aback. Do you know? It's already a few weeks you're not going. His expression, from light and carefree it was, darkened, all of a sudden, turning pensive. Do you want to? You could retire. You worked there long enough. To do what? He says, shaking his head. Take care of Sunrise as one thing. He doesn't answer. He rests his cup on the table, and his eyes travel back on the beach. Some children are playing, and we can hear their shrills while they are merrily chasing each other. I've been to the burrow yesterday. He keeps looking away, but I know he's listening. She's asking for you. She asked for you tonight too. He bows his head. I know this conversation distresses him, but I feel he needs to return being a father for that forlorn child, and I want to understand what's going on. She was quite upset yesterday. She was quite upset tonight. I know she was upset yesterday, as I know she was upset tonight. I always know when she is upset. He interjects abruptly, fiddling with the teaspoon, uneasy. How do you know? He shrugged his shoulders. I just know. She is moody and very often gets upset in the mornings and evenings. Yes, that's right, I say, baffled, and hoping for more openness than tonight. I go on. How? He glances shiftily at me, taking the cup to drink the last drop of his coffee. His distress blatantly heightened. My expression is puzzled. I don't understand. How can he possibly know if it's weeks since he had seen her the last time? I'm I must find out more. I'm about to speak. But as tonight, he divines my intentions and smirks, seeing my half open mouth ready to pester him. Don't trouble yourself with it. She is fine today, anyway. She'll be fine. I'll do my best. I called at the borough once home while he was having a shower. It is true. She has been quite cheerful the whole day.